Alright. See if we can get this stream going and get things installed. We'll give it a little bit and get a few people to pop in or not. What's up, Paul? I haven't tweaked any of the audio, so let me know if it's too low or too high or what. Let's see. Alright. Good deal. It's all a new setup for me, so we'll see how this works out. I'm trying to expand real estate and use 3 screens here instead now. Let's see, we got about 8 people showing. Where's everybody from? Oh, we're waiting on everybody else to come in. For the dryer, what were you looking for, like the electric dryer like I was talking about? What's up, Canada? And I know this time doesn't work out for some people, but there's one of the notifications there. You can hear it's laundry day for us, so you may hear random different laundry notifications. Yeah, the electric dryer, give me a couple weeks on that. I am waiting on some stuff to come in for that, and I will show the electric dryer. I don't have one, but I will find somebody that'll let me show them how to. I'll put something on there for the electric dryer. Alright, so we're going to just go ahead and get started, and I guess towards the end we can just kind of randomly chit-chat. It may not be as smooth as the dot does, but so what this is right here is just a simple Windows 10. It's actually a virtual machine. I think the only thing I've actually installed was Google Chrome and maybe like Notepad++, and that's about it. So hold on to that thought, Jason. I can tell you probably why your URL and Home Assistant is not sending correctly. So hold on that till after. So with PlatformIO, it's really simple. I actually prefer to do PlatformIO for Tasmota. And if you go to the Tasmota wiki and scroll down to prerequisites, and they'll talk about how to flash it and how to build it and everything. So if you look at this section here, they'll say for PlatformIO, and don't click on that just yet because you actually need to install Visual Studio Code first. So go to Visual Studio Code. And if we go too quick, you can, later on you can rewind this and pause it and everything else. And you can also, I'll put some of these links in the description afterwards. But go to this link here. We're just going to open this up into the tab. And we'll just download the build for Windows. And let it download. And we'll let it do this. I'm just going to pick all the defaults, do the next, because we read all the terms and conditions, right? I'm going to let it install my users folder, which is fine. That name is fine. I'm going to go ahead and do, for ease of sake of things, do the desktop icon. We'll add these for the open with code, and this is just a virtual machine, but that just adds it where you can right-click and open up files. It's a really good editor, actually. It's got a cool little color schemes and stuff that makes stuff easy to read. Hey Jay, we're doing PlatformIO and Visual Studio Code. I get tons of questions on doing different builds of Tasmota, so I wanted to show people how easy it was to load up the VSC and PlatformIO and build their own Tasmota with ease. So we just installed VSC. We just did all the defaults. And it brings itself up. And you'll get little messages on the right. I'm just going to close those. So the next part is, so we've done this, we got Visual Studio Code, and it's really simple. If you go to Select View, then Extensions in PlatformIO. So we go to View, and go to Extensions, and we'll just search for PlatformIO. And make sure it is the correct PlatformIO. You can tell usually by the number of downloads. There's like 686,000 at this time. And just click the little green button that says install. And have patience at this point. Depending on the computer or hard drive, internet connection, etc., it can take a while. And it may look like it's not actually installing, but you'll see here. Just hit install. The only thing you'll see is this blue little dash at the top left. It kind of runs back and forth. And the blue button installing is grayed out. Well, I guess it's dim, not grayed out. It's still blue. Alright, let me catch back up on the chat. I may have missed some stuff. How's it going, Chris? Alright, so once it's installed, you'll see the blue. It comes up with reload to activate, disable, uninstall. Hit reload to activate. And it'll redo not PlatformIO, Visual Studio Code. And you'll see it start installing stuff at the bottom right. And I know my ugly mug's in front of it, but I'm not touching anything. Just let it go. And then you'll see this message, installing PlatformIO core. Don't close this window. Don't open other folder, blah, blah, blah. I just let it sit and just let it do its thing. This is kind of more the longest part right here. But we haven't done any crazy commands or nothing, and if you do have problems with doing this, I just suggest doing like a clean install of VSC. So let me scroll back while we're waiting. I guess I can talk about Jason. He said, yeah, you just hear it beep. Because what happens is actually it builds an MP3 in the background, and it sends that MP3 link actually to the Google Home speakers. And there's a way, if you turn on the debug log in Home Assistant, and I'm able to find actually that full link that sends. And a lot of times it deals with, like, if you've done like a DuckDNS something, or you've done some sort of SSL, or the URL section in Home Assistant is not correct, it'll actually send that full link to that Google Home speaker. And if the Google Home speaker it's not a valid link, it just does that little beep and doesn't send the MP3 through. Yeah, I would go through and turn on that debug, and then, you know, of course you're gonna get spewed with tons of different. I forgot what the debug level is in Home Assistant, but it'll get spewed with tons of debug messages. But if you do like a search for like period MP3, you'll be able to find that it's gonna send that through, and it'll have like that full link. And take that full link and try to post that into a browser and see if it'll tell you if that's valid or not. And then it kind of gives you a starting point. So Now we've got please restart VS Code, and I want you to do that manually. Just close VS Code, and we should have an icon on the desktop. And let's see if we get the other messages. So yeah, there's another one that says now. Of course, you can't see it again. It says reload window. Extensions have been modified. Just keep clicking through these. It's all through the install. It's pretty simple. And then finally, I think we may be done. And I do have this at a lower resolution so you guys could see it whether you're watching on a phone or whatnot. So yours of course going to probably look different on a normal higher resolution screen. I think this is only 1280 by 720, I believe. So I'm going to uncheck this. I don't want to see this at startup. And we'll close this. So really at that point it's done. It's installed. It's that simple. So next part, we'll go get the actual code from Tasmota. And you can do couple different things here, but you could install like the GitHub desktop app and just pull it down each time, or you can just download and have that pull it down, or you can just do the download zip. So we're just, for the sake of this, we're going to do download zip. And check the branch you're in. You want to make sure you're in the development branch, because that's typically if you want to get some newer features or just kind of the latest and greatest. You know, we're going to pull the development one. But if you didn't want the development one, you can pull the master, which is going to pull that, or the release 6.3. Just check the branch that you want to download. And of course, I know some may ask, like, why are we building this ourselves? If you look at the link here, the Hackbox, they do, wow, that's bright. Let me turn this screen down here. You can build, they have the development bins already built for you, but of course that's based on the features and stuff they have set up. And wow, they're crossing probably a good time to do this. They're crossing the 500K threshold again, which means when you do these, you'll have to do the minimal to free up the flash memory. And which is a good example here. I'll show you. We won't have to deal with that, dealing with doing the minimal, because once you cross like that 500K threshold, then you'll have to do the minimal to have enough space to have it write the other new binary, because it actually has to hold them both at the same time. And I always kind of flash my own, and I never run into that issue with having to do the minimals and everything. Alright. So let me check this right quick. Give me 1 second. I need display. Big video. Nope. Okay. Over there for now. Alright, we'll turn this back up. Alright, so we got in there. Found last night, the flash did the memory error to the flash sensors. Yep. Did not know that we're over 500K. Now I guess they're continuing all the different features they're adding in. So what you'll do, if you go to File and Open Folder. Oh no, we got to go and zip it first. I'm skipping ahead. So we've downloaded it, and go to the zip file, and I'll just do extract all. I don't have 7-zip on here, but it's fine. Just do extract, and give it time to just extract. And what I like to do is I have a folder that I keep all my various versions in. I just delete old ones as I go, and I will rename it here in a second. Alright, so you can find the actual version if you go into Sonoff and go to the changelog, and we'll open, I thought I had Notepad++ on here, I thought. I don't. Let's do that right quick. That's Notepad++, download. And one cool thing I like for Notepad++, Notepad++ VS Code theme. There's a theme that I like to get for Notepad++ off of GitHub, and it's just a little XML file. And they had the instructions on how to install this. It's just you got to copy an XML file to a certain folder. There's a themes, and they show you little instructions on how to do it. Alright. Close and close. 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 And Notepad++. And if you go to I think it's settings, style configurator, and change it to VS 2015 dark. Why didn't it like that? Alright. Didn't like that. Didn't like that. Did I copy the link or something maybe? Copy. What is that? Users. Themes. Paste. Let's give it a shot again. Maybe some VM issues, maybe. Alright, tools, style configurator, and we'll try VS 2015 dark again. It does not like that at all. Okay, well, I have it installed on my other one. Maybe it's something with this VM. But if we look in, if you look in the Sonoff folder, there's a changelog INO, and you'll find the version number. So a lot of times I'll just copy the version number out, because otherwise you'll get all these if you trying to play with different versions all the time, and I'll just rename them and put it at the end dash and the version number, and we'll put it back out here on downloads. So once you have, and it's just the straight, I haven't changed anything in here at all. Yeah, I haven't really thought out much on the Node-RED stuff too much. I had a few different ideas and everything. One thing for sure, I was going to show how to do the MQTT publish and subscribes on Node-RED, because it kind of bypasses Home Assistant in a way. All right, so we'll go back into Visual Code Studio, and now if you say Open Folder, and if you just open this folder, you don't have to go any deeper in. Just go where you can see GitHub, Arduino, Sonoff, etc., and hit Select Folder. And give it a second, it'll start showing towards the bottom. it'll show like PlatformIO, IntelliSense, Index Rebuild. I thought I unchecked that. I don't want PlatformIO showing. But you can start to dig around and look through all the configuration options. Make this full screen. So I know I kind of flew through that, but basically it's really simple. You're just installing the VSC base, and then once you get into VSC, go install PlatformIO, and then download whatever project it might be. There's a lot of projects that will actually support PlatformIO. Like for instance, like McLighting is another one I know of. And the cool part about it is it'll download all the libraries and everything for you, all the different version numbers. You don't have any mismatches, etc. It's kind of like set up the way the developer designed for it to be flashed. So actually right here at this point, but I wanted to go through and you could actually hit build, but I wanted to show you guys what we're going to do here. Let's go ahead and build it first one time, and then I'll show you what we're going to do and how to make it smaller to go below that 500K. So to build it, and we're just going to build it as default, I'm not changing any of this stuff, is if you go up here and you go to terminal and you go to run build task. Now that first time you run this, it's going to look like it's doing nothing, but just give it time because it's downloading all the different libraries and things in the background, and it's going to build fine. Just hit build, and this one's not going to sit here, but sometimes it will sit here and sit here and wait and try to, because it needs to download different libraries. It must have already downloaded it in the background, but a lot of times it'll just sit there and it looks like you're like, was it doing anything or anything at all? But it's not. It's actually going. So once you see the success message, you're good. It actually you've built. You can see we didn't have to go download any libraries or nothing. You know, we didn't have to make sure we had version 1.2 of this or 4.2 of that, and mismatches of libraries, nothing like that. It took care of it all itself. All you did is open it and hit build. Now, where it puts it is in that folder that you pointed to. There's a folder that says it's got a period PIO environments, the ENVS. Just double click it. You should see a Sonoff folder. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a firmware.bin. And there's that firmware.bin, and you could actually take that firmware bin right now and go put that into Flash, ESP8266, whatever. You want to go take that bin file and send it to your ESP8266 device. And it's ready to go right then and there. And it's just the default options. Now, as we spoke about before, we don't want to use the 505 size because of the limitations of the memory on the ESP8266. So, excuse me. And so we can start doing here, and you'll start to see the power of being able to build this yourself. And as you can see, it's really simple. And you can change this is the myuserconfig.h. And you can change all of these settings. And what's great about it is you can put all these different settings in here for your different devices. And if you've got 10 of them to flash and you don't want to have to go put those backlog commands in there and everything, you can just put them in right through here. I guess before I continue to blow on through, anybody got any questions or anything? I kind of flew through some of that kind of fast, but it is very simple to do. I know it's a lot of people think, oh my God, it's Visual Studio Code, I got to write code and all this. No, it's just you doing installs, and there's no really crazy. It's kind of an easy install. Alright, so what I like to do is change. I'll show you some of the settings I like to change. Replay and pause. Yep, indeed. Replay and pause will be my friend. So I like to use the Wi-Fi manager one. That's the one where it pulls up that you're all familiar with it, where it pulls up the access point and you can tie in with your phone and you go to that 192.168.4.1. That's the Wi-Fi manager, and you can pull it up with like a button. I think you get like the 4 button presses, but I'm too lazy, and sometimes the devices I'm using may not have a button. So I like to just copy Wi-Fi manager over to Wi-Fi retry and this one, and this is all the syslog stuff. Not gonna change that. OTA URL, we're not gonna change that. If you wanted to, you can come in here and put your MQTT host, so you don't have to put that in yourself. So you could come in here and say my MQTT host is 192.168.1.50. I wouldn't change the fingerprints. The ports usually are 1883. Well, say if you had a different user, you could say my user, say that's your username, and then you could put in your password, and we'll put in super secret pass, and that's whatever you have for your MQTT pass. Now, it is hard coded into the bin file if you did flash it, but of course, if you ever did want to change those, you can. You're just setting the default values. If you would do like a factory reset on the Tasmota device, it would fall back to these settings. So you can put those in. If you want to do I usually don't use buttons too much. I, of course, always use power retain. We'll do power retain. I usually don't change the payloads from the off and the on, toggle and hold. The full topic, I usually won't change those. I won't change these either. The topics, I don't change that. The teleperiod, we leave it at 300. Home Assistant Discovery Enable, you can, if you use Auto Discovery, I don't particularly like to. You can use that one. The Webserver, if you want to throw in a temporary not temporary, but if you want to throw in a web password, you can. I'd like to use a web password because I'm using that Wi-Fi manager. If for some reason I don't have my Wi-Fi up, and like say if during a firmware upgrade, I don't want all of my devices to flip over to access point and allow anybody to get into them. It's rare someone would be able to connect to them, but I just decided I put that in. It's a real simple little stupid password. It's not like something super crazy. The Ntp servers, usually I do like to change them. You can find the Ntp servers to whatever you'd like. Of course, they just use poolntp.org. There's several different Ntp servers. Like, there's a whole list. If you go to poolntp.org, you can find them. I've just changed these to US. I'm guessing because NL would be the Netherlands, I'm thinking, and that's where Theo is at. It doesn't hurt to put them in there, and you can change these, of course, through the console. I do change the time and put this how my daylight and savings time is, and same thing for the standard time. And what I'll do is I'll post my settings for that in the description later. And I'll put my latitude and longitude, because if you're using the timers for like dusk to dawn in the timer actually in Tasmota itself, you'll want to use the latitude and longitude. That's for your area. Now, one key point, I didn't know this until last time the time changed, is if you set all this daylight savings time and standard time, of course if your area observes it, if you don't set your time zone to 99, it won't use any of it. I was wondering why none of my switches flipped over when the time change, and that was because they weren't set to 99. I'm not going through. I don't change all these. Leave these at default. Here's all your temp conversions, whether you want Celsius or Fahrenheit, your pressure, and here's the resolution. Of course, all these again are all in the console. But just if you normally going through and setting those every single time for every device, go put them in, and that way you don't have to set them every time. So that's all the defaults. I'm gonna scroll through all of the languages. All of these slashes, these greens, that's so it's all commented out. So that's all that's not being used. Yeah, exactly. Um, I wanted to see that conversion as well. Maybe have somebody do a pull request or something on that knows a little Arduino coding. Um, I know I've touched on this before about PubSub client. Used to PubSub client had a bad problem, and I still don't use it in my custom sketches with. I just don't like PubSub that much, really. I've always had issues with it. But maybe this new updated version is fine. It doesn't block anything, and what they mean by blocking is if for some reason your MQTT server was down or you didn't have the right password or something inside, every time it goes to connect to MQTT, a lot of those custom sketches for people, if you look through, they'll have like, MQTT reattempt, and they'll have like a delay 5,000. Well, actually the device kind of locks up and doesn't let it do anything else during that whole 5 seconds while it's pausing, and it's also blocking as the client tries to connect, and it just hangs the whole device up. Now they said they fixed that, and it says does not block network if MQTT server is unavailable. Which I have gone and using regular PubSub, and for the most part, I'd say it's not 100% unblocking, but it doesn't block. It maybe blocks for a split second. If you want to, you can change to a different MQTT server, and it's just a library. If you want to change that one, you can just put // in front, and then put // like that if you want to change MQTT servers. Yeah, I don't like to use delay at all in the sketches, and you can. Some of my first projects I did use delays, and I just didn't know any better. But definitely after a few months, you should probably figure out how not to use big delays in your sketches. I think he was talking about the inches of HG. Is it Mercury? I think it is. Don't get me on my science here. And just that was for the pressure, like if you had like a BME 280 atmospheric pressure sensor. So we'll leave that one at PubSub client. Yeah, the timer library is good. I kind of prefer. There's also the ticker library where you can set your ticker to happen at different times. The ticker's pretty cool. I use ticker with async MQTT. Teleretain. I only use teleretain on some of my power sensors where I wanted to keep my telemetry retained messages during a reboot of Home Assistant, like the wattage and amperage on a device. So here's where we're going to start doing something here. You'll notice right here it says, and I don't even know how to pronounce this, that Domotisi. Of course I'm going to chew it all up, but I'll just call it Domo. You see right here one of the default sensors? I know if you're using Domo, then leave it in, but I'm not. So right here we can save 6K of code. So that's going to bring us down to 499. And what I do is you can do a couple different ways. You can actually highlight it and do Control-K, C, and it'll comment it all out. Or if you wanted to, you could just type the little slashes. And if you just put with the Control-K, I think C is for comment and then U is for uncomment, and that'll block a whole comment out at one time. And you'll see me doing that here a lot. And I'll show you exactly how it comes down. Again, I don't use the Home Assistant Discovery. Hats off to the people who deal with all that code. I prefer kind of the Home Assistant way. I know it's kind of ironic, as I like to control everything, how my switches come in and their names and how they function. And so I can copy and paste like a fool and put stuff in my YAML code, no problem. So I don't need Discovery. So we'll save another 2K of code with that. Control K C, comment that out. TLS is already commented out. This isn't going to do anything. This if we do enable KNX, but I'm going to go ahead and comment it out. Webserver, we need a Webserver, so don't comment that out. For discovery, we don't need that. I'm not using MDNS for this. I'm not using MQTT host discovery. So again, and it's also saving on memory inside the ESP8266, which there isn't much of. So I'm going to comment this out. Control K C, comment that out. Timers, if you don't use timers, the timers again, that was for like that sunrise, sunset. If you want to have the switch turn itself on and off without any automations, you can use that. If you don't use timers, you can comment that all out. It does save a good bit of code, 2K of code, 4K of code, and even looks like 16K of code apparently. But we're gonna leave timers in. I'll show you. Rules. I don't know if we use rules here, which is joking. No, I want to leave rules in. I use rules a lot. This is another cool feature that if you're gonna use the if I have one around here, 1 second. So if you're going to use like say the Node NCU, and you've ever seen if I got to turn a light on here, it's up at the top up here. You'll see the A0 pin. That's the analog. If you're doing some sort of analog sensor, you'll need that ADC VCC. Otherwise, it supposedly measures the ESP8266. See, I've seen that before, where my VCC would be pretty low as well. I don't know if I've ever seen 2.7 volts though, and that's you'll see that in the telemetry message where it shows like the Wi-Fi signal and stuff. So I've only used this in one case where I was actually using the A0 in Tasmota. I was using that for those little, if I'm saying it correctly, those photovoltaic cells with a resistor, where it changes the voltage based on the amount of light on the sensor, like kind of like your own homebrew flux sensor. I don't know. I'll check that in a second. See what some of mine are. So we'll leave all that. If you're not here again, here's another one. If you're not using the Dallas sensors, which is by the way a pretty cool sensor for doing temperature, but if you're not using it, just comment it out. But just keep this in mind. If you ever going through later and you're like, well, wait, where's that sensor at? Well, you commented them all out. But it's simple just to comment it back out and you can rebuild this. I2C. You can see if by default it's loading in all these different types of sensors. Now, the way this is designed, you see it says, if defined, use I2C, then define these. So the cool part is you don't have to go and comment all these out. Now, if you do just want one, like say we were just talking about that BME 280 sensor, which is right here, and say you just wanted to use BMP, then of course you would have to go through and comment all the other ones you don't want. For the sake of this, we're just going to comment out I2C. So that blows out all these I2Cs. You can see in Visual Studio Code is actually kind of cool because it just grayed them all out and shows that we're not going to load that. So you can blow through all this, and then it gets down to use SPI, but you can see it's already commented out for us. It's not going to load these SPI drivers. And you can also notice out to the side again, I'll talk about, is see like this 2K of code, you're cutting all these out. So if you don't even have these sensors, then why even put them on your device is what I feel. So I'm not doing any of this. I'm going to go all the way through. Now, one thing, I do use the Tuya dimmers, so I'm going to leave that one in. Again, the shortcut is Control-K-C for comment. We'll leave the Tuya dimmer in. I don't use any Armtronics dimmers. And I don't use the PS16DZ dimmer. Power monitoring sensors. Eventually we will use this one. I know someone else was asking about that. About doing the electric dryer. So this power monitoring one for the Shelly 2 folks, here's your, if you cut this out, you will not get power monitoring for the Shelly 2, by the way. So we'll go through. But we're all going to cut them all out. Nope, I'm used to right clicking. Control-K-C. Then you have your IR remote, your IR receive. I'm not using infrared anything. Control-K-C. We'll go ahead and leave the lights. I remember I was able to catch some of the live stream by the doctor this morning, and he was talking about how his lights were backwards. Usually it's the green and the red. So you can see the default is it's GRB, and you can see that they listed in here in the comment over here which ones you want to change it to. If some of your colors are backwards and you're using WS2812s, you can just take one and change it here. Now, because this is only, you can only change this at compile time. You cannot change the colors of your strips between, using the console, unfortunately. So that kind of fixes that issue where you had the colors backwards. So you can tell them you fixed yours. So we'll leave the WS2812 in. And this RLux RF, I'm not using that. Don't even know what it is. Maybe someone has it. I'm not using ultrasonic sensor. Cut that one out. I'm not using a load cell in here yet. RF flash. That's for the Sonoff RF bridge flashing or something. I'm not using that right now, so unless somebody wants to send me one to play with. But wind sensor, not using that, and not using the RC switch. And that's it. So you can see we commented out quite a few sensors. And I will tell you for a fact that you probably will have less issues, especially at boot time and stuff, if you build your own. I've been building my own since way before the 6.x versions, and I've never had any issues with any of my devices not connecting to Wi-Fi. So there's a very positive thing. Now, what I do, I've got several devices that use different types of I2Cs. So, and I'll show you here in a second once we build this. We'll go through and just put in a few I2Cs that I do use, because I'll just flash into all my sensors. That way I just have one unified bin file I do. So once you've done all that, we'll just do a save all, and we'll go to terminal again and run build task and just click the top build. And you'll see it down here. It'll go through and it'll start building, and it shouldn't take that long, but of course that's all dependent on your computer, hard drive, etc. So you know everything's good once you said success. If you get error messages, you'll just scroll up and see the error messages. Now let's go check our build file. How can I send you an RF bridge? If you do want to send me anything to put in videos, hey, that's great. I'll be honored to play around with anything. You can just send me an email, which you can find in my about. You can send me an email to there. Or you can catch me in the Discord or the Facebook group, whatever, on the Dr. Z's Facebook group, or you can catch me on the Discord as well. Which you can find me in the Discord in the Tasmota one, the Home Assistant one, and the Dr. Z's one as well in Discord. You can feel free to send me a private message. Just keep in mind, during the day, I do work my normal job, and I'll send messages back and forth as I can, but if I go quiet in the middle of a conversation, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just had something else come up. So, of course, I see now we're down to 435. And that puts us well below the 500K, and I'm saying 500K-ish limit is at 435. So if you wanted to at this point, I'm going to come in here and put I2C back in. And yeah, feel free, if you want to send me an email, we can kind of take that offline if you wanted to do anything. That's be fine. I do have some of these sensors because I kind of collect a lot of I2C stuff, but I don't have them deployed with Tasmota. So we'll comment this one out. We'll leave the BMP one. I don't have the UV sensor deployed. I don't have the SHT3. I don't have this sensor. And it is a kind of a cool time if you want to go look at those different sensors. I do have the MCP board expander. I do have there's a PWM hardware driver. I do have one of those that play with LEDs. It's pretty cool, but I don't have it deployed anywhere. What else we needed? The display. I do have some displays, but I don't have that deployed. There's several of those. We'll just do a block comment and Control K C. It is Control K, Control C, by the way, I believe. Yeah, I hold down Control the entire time. So I just left in the MCP 23.0 because I had that expander on my iFan 02, and I do have this BMP sensor on 1. And let's go ahead and we'll build that one. And build. And let's give it a second. And now we're at 448K. So we went from 435 to 448, which is still fine. But you can see just throwing in your few sensors, and you can change stuff up and build it yourself. It's really simple to do, as you can see. Now, one thing it is not that simple is, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, so don't take it as such. If you can start to dig through all the code. Close that, and we'll close this window. You can dig through all the code in Tasmota. The guys that developed this, especially Theo is probably the main one. They've done an amazing job at making all this stuff fit in such a small bin file. So it's all broken out. You can get lost because of how tight they write code and how efficient they write code. But it's all in here, and you can change stuff all how you want. Which, if you want to get into that and doing some pull requests and stuff and adding to the community, I mean, Theo's will add stuff there. I see people all the time adding stuff into Tasmota, and he's very receptive of bringing those in. Let me catch up. Should it be building for each and every language, or did I download the wrong Sonoff Tasmota source? Shouldn't be building for every language. If you just went through build task, did you click build? I know there's like a build all or something like that. I think I've done that before, but I just hit straight build, and otherwise it'll keep building. I think I've seen that one time. It'll build for every single language, and maybe it's just build Sonoff. that builds every language. If you download just a regular development one, which I'm playing with, you should be fine. So, one thing to note, that once you go through and you've changed this my user config, is sometimes they'll change between, like, say for instance there's another release of Tasmota, or you're watching the GitHub, and which I may pull up the GitHub and I'll show you where to watch on there for the ones that don't know. Oh yeah, I didn't change the language, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. GitHub. If you go to the Tasmota GitHub, and if you look under commit, just go to the straight page. I'm under development. If you click on the commits, and the commits are all the changes that somebody has committed to the code, and you can kind of keep abreast of what's changing with every version. And then he'll sometimes put, this is Theo's icon, he'll sometimes put different things, notes on things that they may link, like different issues. And these are other folks that are, submitting their different changes. The user config override doesn't have everything we want to use. Where's that one? Yeah, see, user config override is only going to have just a few things so you can change. It's just like your SSID and your pass, and you notice I didn't even put my SSID in. The only, I normally don't put my I don't hard code my SSID because I change my ID and password sometimes, and I'll just change it all through MQTT. Holding the pins to flash the S31. No, Chris, I haven't seen anybody doing that. One thing I did have somebody telling me they were using a plastic chip clip. They put those little, they stripped different jumper wires, and because, of course, plastic, non-conductive, and they used a plastic chip clip because it was wide enough, and they just put the chip clip down on the S31 board and held all those wires in place. That was a pretty cool idea, and it's like, a lot of people have chip clips hanging around. Just don't use the metal chip clips. So yeah, that's why I don't use the user config override, is because I want to cut out all the features. But sometimes different versions, they do change the my user config, and so you can't, sometimes, I say sometimes, you cannot just copy the my user config from one version to another, because you may get a compile error. And if you do get a compile error, then just go in and use the my user config that came with it, and just go through and re-edit all your stuff again. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool idea. It's always funny. We're always looking for these high-tech, advanced 3D printing and stuff, and someone fixes it with a chip clip. So we're gonna I'm gonna do another one, and I did mention that McLighting project. McLighting GitHub. We're gonna download that one, and the last commit was a day ago. Okay, so that's pretty new. We'll download the zip to that one. Yeah, I heard someone else. I think the chip clip was just those longer clips because they had a little rubber seal piece, and I saw someone else was saying they used some wooden clothespins, and they held on those the pins onto those pads as well. Let's see. Go downloads and McLighting master. extract all. I'm used to using 7-zip. I don't have it installed on this virtual machine. Yeah, I'm saying low. There you go. We're thinking high tech again. Not a dip chip, as in like memory chip clip. No, we're talking about potato chips bag to keep your chips from being stale. So a lot of times, if you find a project on GitHub, and if a key indicator that the developer set it up for use of PlatformIO is this PlatformIO INI. And so if you use that, you go into Visual Studio Code. We see that we downloaded it. We'll go to File, Open Folder, and just go to that folder. That's gonna, you won't see it, but the folder that has that PlatformIO INI, too many letters. Just hit Select Folder, and it will open up that project. And give it a second. It's gonna do this rebuild thing. No, I don't want to see the little bug man at startup. I don't know why it keeps doing that. And this is the McLighting project. I'm not going to go all through this. This is that project that I think the doc was covering it a little bit. It's pretty cool for doing your LED strips and your different LED. I have it actually deployed in my hallway for an automatic lights and automations based on like traffic patterns and stuff. I have it light up different colors. So when in the morning when I walk by, instead of being a white light, I'll make it like a yellow or a red light. Based on if my commute time has gone up above average time, so I know, hey, go ahead and leave early or something like that. But it's a pretty cool thing because there's a web GUI and everything, but it's kind of weird to build if you go through your it's got a crazy build. You gotta go find all the packages and all the different pieces and everything, and it's such a pain. And I'll show you how cool it is to do with PlatformIO. I'm getting those letters mixed up again. So there is some stuff in here in McLighting. You can go through the wiki, and we're not going to go through all that, but you can go set your definitions up. It's kind of a lot like Tasmota with these things. Of course, you'll read out here which pin number for the pixels, he has it on pin 14, GPIO 14, which is D5, the number of LEDs, the pin of the button, you want the host name, you want to enable the OTA code. He has it already in here set up for, which I like, async MQTT, no pub sub, yay. And I know I talked bad about the Home Assistant auto discovery. This one's kind of cool because it does set it up. You don't have to do any of that JSON setup. I do use that. But I only have one of these devices. So, but you can enable these and go through the. I'm gonna leave it all the same. I just want to show you. So we're gonna this one's a little different. But if you go in and hit terminal and say run build task, and I'm just gonna hit I'm going to use it for a Node MCU and hit build. And okay, we got an error. Okay, I need the get client. So probably if we go control click, we'll go download Git Windows, and we'll just install it all with next, right? Next. Pass or fail. Install. How do you skip build of all the other sewn off variants, only the sewn off? I just picked that first one, and I didn't change anything special, and it'll pick just that one variant. I know you can make it go through and pick all those other ones, but I'm not sure how that does. I'll go back to that if we want to see. View release notes, finish. Alright, so that's Git. So let's Let's try it again without restarting. Let's see if that works. So run build task, and we'll do node MCU. Oh, it must be want to restart Visual Studio Code to see Git. Alright. Run build task and node MCU. So I've seen this before. It looks like it's just sitting for a while on the build of this on McLighting, but it's actually downloading something in the background. It's downloading those different libraries and everything, and you'll see here in a second it'll start taking off. And it did sit here for quite a bit. So if you just go and run, I want to say it's run build task. Yeah, and I've already unchecked the little bug man like 10 different times, and on my regular build it doesn't do that. Like I say, this was the VM build, just a virtual machine. You can see it down at the bottom. It's saying activate. Well, my face is in front of it, but it says activate Windows. This is just a straight up. I threw Windows 10 on it from a ISO downloaded from Microsoft of all places. So, but it's not activated. But I'll just end up blowing it away here in a little bit. So it should be downloading that stuff. Let's see if it is. More details. Yeah, it says 0 on the Ethernet. Maybe it's not downloading it. Alright, let's give it a shot again. Run build task. Node MCU. There it goes. It does give me some, those yellows are some warnings. And those are just warnings for McLighting. And that's it. So you can see kind of the same exact thing if we go to McLighting Master and you go that PIO environments. I built just for Node MCU v2, and there's your firmware.bin. And you could push that over through the flash ESP8266 or whatever you want to use to push that bin through to flash it to your device, whether it be the Node MCU or whatever. So I guess I saw like 2 of y'all have had that issue with it building multiple variants in the different languages. In Tasmota. Are y'all hitting run? Look, see, there's a little man again. I keep on checking him over here. Maybe I gotta do save or something. I'm not sure. But again, it's a VM. Are you doing run task? Is there a build all or something in here? Got accidentally hidden? I'm not sure. I normally just go through and hit that one. I go to terminal and hit build task and just hit build. And it just does the one build. And you'll see here it's going to do one build. I haven't configured anything weird. Y'all saw everything. This was like a fresh install. And it just builds that one bin file. That's it. Now I wonder. Just click the top one, PlatformIO build. Where's PlatformIO build? No, I haven't seen. Oh, PlatformIO build. I wonder if you do Sonoff Basic, does it build all of them? You do Sonoff Basic? Let's see. I know those. If you pick Sonoff Basic, those are like different templates. It's gonna build in all those different libraries again. No, they only built one. See, it's saying skip. It skips all these environments. Skip, 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 skip. So is it y'all's building all those? Yeah. I'm not sure why. I would kind of start back over and see. I didn't change all of these. These use classic, use basic, use sensors, anything like that. So I'm not sure why it's building all those different ones. I just normally go up here and hit run build task and hit the regular PlatformIO build, and it doesn't build all the different languages. Not sure why it's doing that. I would definitely make sure you're downloading the development. That might be what it is. If you downloaded master, they may have it set up where master builds all those so they can do their releases, which that might be it. I bet you that's what it is. So so it's 10:08 my time. I'll hang out. We can hang out for a little bit longer. I guess we only got 30 people watching right now, so 29. I guess any ideas or anything you want to chit chat about or any questions? Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that on the Node-RED thing. There are a couple Node-RED videos out there, but I mean, I know they had a couple different things they were showing, but I had so many people asking about Node-RED and questions, and I wanted to do some straight up from the bottom. I know a lot of people are already using Node-RED, and that was going to be very boring to them, which was fine. You know, they can put it in 2x speed where you sound like Mickey Mouse and fast forward or whatever, because maybe they might pick up on something they didn't know. But it's going to help out a lot of the other people to get started. Discord. Yeah, I think what that is, Glenn, is you may have downloaded the master source code. Did you ever get the AI Cliv dimmer Wi-Fi light switch dimming? AI Cliv. I think I saw that one the other day. AI dimmer switch. Oh, that one looks like the same. That looks like the same. The rebrand, like it looks like another rebrand of the one for the Oidum, and a lot of them I've seen that they'll have a couple manufacturers will make these switches, and people are just buying different lots of those and sell them on Amazon. They may get their own brand painted on them. Yeah, Glenn, if you when you went back and I know I was kind of going through it fast, when you're on the code, when you're downloading the code, make sure you're on the branch development, because they probably do have the master one set up to build all those different variants, because they're dropping all those variances in the release tab on GitHub. And of course, they're not wanting to build all those different variants every single time they test something with development. So that's probably what is different. I'm building the development one. Oh, the one with the screen. And yes, I'm trying to remember the name of it. The brand I did was the Lesim dimmer switch. This one right here. yes, if you do, you couldn't get the dimming to work, is if you, actually the dimming does work with the, I would use the development version, which I just showed how to build, and you can use the Tuya. It's the, this is the, it'll support the standard Tuya dimming. Yeah, there you go, Scott. Apparently you're right. It is the master, and I remember building that before, and it does build all. It's just been so long since I've done that. Let me see if I don't know if I can get out to outside of this VM. I don't think so. Yeah, I can. So for that Lyceum, if I can find it, I got too many dimmers. So that Lyceum dimming one, if you go into, if it's going to be the standard Tuya dimmer you pick, and it should automatically pick the serial out and the serial in, the Tuya TX and the Tuya RX. You can put those. Let me see if I can see, make sure this is showing correctly before I run my mouth too much. And I didn't pick. You don't have to normally pick those. It automatically puts the Tuya TX and Tuya RX. And if you go to configuration, and then that's it pretty much. Now, one thing I did find, and I'm working on a video of it, is when it changes the dimming. Because one problem we have, which we talked on Facebook about, is, see, we turn it on, and if you go to the console, let me pull up another browser. It's not flipping back and forth. Hold on 1 second. Kitchen, and main kitchen. Okay. The one problem I had, and I did modify the firmware, and I want to get that, do a pull request to Tasmota to have it as a set option, because I had that problem with Home Assistant, is if you turn it off, and you can see, I did modify this one, so I'm showing the video of this. Hopefully I'll get it out this week, and we'll put the firmware up there for other people to view it if you like and use it. I do have it sending the dimmer in the JSON every time, which was messing up. Sometimes you turn it on, and it would just send the on, and it would never send the dimming, and then Home Assistant wouldn't know what the brightness was, even though it was half brightness, and it just created a whole mess. And then you had just the opposite. If you turned it on using brightness, then Home Assistant would never know it turned on, and it just shouldn't be like that. So, but this one actually fixed, and you can see I'm actually on the other screen. I'm hitting brightness on, and you can see, now I do get double messages. I'm not sure why right now. It's looping back around, but it doesn't mess up Home Assistant. And you can actually see it actually did turn on, and the dimmer comes on. And the dimming does work, and same thing from the faceplate, the dimming will work from it without any special commands or whatnot. So, let's see. So it should answer your question on this dimmer here. The dimmer is pretty decent. I do like the look of it. The only thing I don't like about it is the you can't control anything. Of course, you can't control the display on it. You can't do a long press up or a long press down. The way it does work, if you push up, or it's up or rocks down, and then it has capacitive touch to the screen, the little black screen. It'll show the value, and it goes on and off. Yeah, I'll probably tomorrow I'll put the GitHub up there, and I will go ahead and build a bin with just some typical values, like with Wi-Fi Manager, and take all those I2Cs out. And I'll put that bin up there so you can flash it. But the source code will be there as well. It's just a fork. Actually, I do have the source code forked right now with some of it built, but I would just hold off. I did push a commit to it for the MJ, the Martin Jerry dimmer. I know I've talked about this one before. Martin Jerry. This one, and of course, guys, I have no affiliation with these people. I don't know. I'm sure that's probably a random name. Maybe they picked. I have no idea. But the Martin Jerry one's pretty cool because, but it did take a lot of customization in Tasmota code. The loud hum in the audio. Well, that's the not air conditioner, the heater kicked on, but it should just be a sound. This one's pretty cool with because each of the status lights I had to turn on, but what's neat about it is it's kind of like a rocker inside a rocker. It's an up and down, and then this is your on off. But what's cool about it is actually I've set the long press up. You can those are actually switches or buttons in Tasmota, so you can set them to whatever you want. And if you push them individually, on the dimmer switch, I haven't had any issues with the humming of it. So if you do, you may try different bulbs. I'm guessing I haven't had any issues with it. The actual dimmer humming, that's kind of weird. But with the Martin Jerry one, it's kind of cool because I have on a rule, which I'll show right quick before I have to go here. I had that over my kitchen table. So all this stuff I do use in production, and it's actually in where the wife and kids use it. So I definitely, that's the only way I find to find all the bugs and the issues. I use it every day. I just can't use it on the test bench. And of course, I have other people to use it. In the console, rule 1, you can set these with rules. And what I have is if I long press down on that little rocker, it sets the dimming to 35%. And it's kind of one of our favorites. And then if I long press up, it sets the dimmer to 100. And another rule I did was which is really cool too, is if you long press on the on-off button, I have it publish a command. It just says table dimmer main toggle. And I can't show it on here right now, I don't think. Let's see. 1883, I think it is. Or is it 1880? I can't remember which node read. 1880. Too many port numbers. So in node red, what I did, because it goes to a current Z-Wave, is I just had it. I just subscribed to that table dimmer main, and then I do a toggle, and this is the one last sole Z-Wave switch I have left. So I send a toggle command to the kitchen sink light. So it's kind of cool that we're by that. It was never wired for 3-way, but if we long press and hold on the light for the table, it turns on the kitchen sink across the room from us. So that's kind of cool. Let's see, 1 second here. If I can find my window. And they have another switch, which I really like. Let's see here. Give me 1 second, I'll get you a link to those. Tom and Martin Jerry. So what's the GitHub? I'll tell you. There's the Martin Jerry dimmer. They did have a lightning deal on those the other night. They were like $18 a piece, but still they're like $23.99 a piece, which is still pretty awesome deal for. And I did have an issue with one dimmer. It was making some of my one set of picky bulbs I had. They were flickering, and this Martin Jerry one I had no issue with it flickering those bulbs at lower percentages. And this is their switch. It's a little bit more difficult to flash, and that's their switch. But one cool thing, because you have to like solder to that little Tuya module. One thing I do like about their switch is you can control the red and blue LED on it, which is kind of cool. It's not just hardwired like those KU-led ones I've covered. Yeah, on the GitHub, you can go take a look if you want. GitHub.com/just digiblur on GitHub. If you look for, you'll see I was working on it earlier today in the Stone Off Tasmota section. And you can see I did a commit with some of the stuff for the Martin Jerry switch. And this is not going to be the pull request I'll do for Tasmota. This is really more, I guess you'll say, my proof of concept. And some of the changes I've done, adding in the Martin Jerry dimmer, and setting the template up, and doing the different pin modes for each of those lights, fixing the states, and then you've got several different pieces to do each individual light based on the dimming percentage range. Let me catch back up. Ceiling fan. Y'all were talking about the ceiling fan. Is the only one I'm aware. Apparently harder to flash and has fan speed issues. Yeah, I do have a ceiling. I have one deployed. I might be. Let me see. 4. Yeah, I have one deployed. It's actually in my master bedroom, and I showed it in the second part of the I2C sensors for Tasmota, and you can see this is my panel I have for the different LEDs, and I have also a motion sensor and three buttons in this thing, I believe, for doing different things. Yeah, that's one thing I have not done a video on the iFan02 because it's a very advanced part of things. Close some of this stuff here. It's a very advanced section of doing, because you're having to desolder those capacitors inside the iFan for US users, or for 120 volts. Otherwise, the fan just spins way too slow, and it's just difficult to do. I don't know how many people would want to do that in there. How the logic and gate is supposed to work in Node-RED. Okay, I'll definitely put that in for the list for the and for Node-RED. That's probably one thing I want to play with offline before just kind of doing it live. I don't know if I have anything with the ands done in Node-RED. And there's probably some other guys that are pretty more advanced I've seen that do more in Node-RED. But I think once I get you started and get you moving on doing nodes and different things, and you'll just start to figure out, and hopefully eventually y'all be back teaching me stuff how to do things in Node-RED. So But it's 10:30 my time, and I gotta get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and still got some stuff to do before I go to bed. I think I appreciate that, Basic Pilot. Yeah, definitely. When God is one, man is dumb. Uh, yeah, definitely rewind things. I did blow through things kind of quickly, but on doing the installs, I figure we can just rewind and pause and go through. It's pretty simple. Everybody will be flashing and writing their own versions of Tasmota, and it's definitely the way to go. Be careful on if you distribute the bin files. If you put in your any IDs and passwords, just keep that in mind. Just like anything you've built with if you put in SSIDs or passwords, that other people will see those. It works hooked to FTDI, but not plugged into mains. Anybody experiences the reflash, still same problem. It works hooked to Interesting. So no, and it works hooked to FTDI. Now I know the relay won't work to FTDI, but you can see the chip and everything in the GUI, Scott. Hey, what's up, Mohan? And if I mess up anybody's names, don't hate me for it. That sounds like the power supply, because that goes from that brings main because it brings mains down from the 120 or 240 or whatever you're using down to 5 volts for that relay, and then there's also that, I think it's the AMS 1117 regulator that drops it down to 3 volts 3. Sounds like something like that power supply is just not working anymore. That voltage, there you go, voltage converter failed. So, but definitely, if y'all got any other questions, you can hit me up. I did send my email earlier on there. I'll send it again. It's just my channel name at gmail.com. You can find me in the About section. You can find me on Discord or whatnot. Feel free to send me a PM. And again, I'm not ignoring you. If I have broken conversations, it's just I've got stuff going on during the day, and I'll eventually get back with you. So, all right. Well, I appreciate it, guys, or if there's any gals out there, not to be that way, and appreciate you watching and everything, and hopefully you learned a little something about getting VS Code installed and getting PlatformIO installed. All right. Y'all take it easy and let me know if you need anything. Take care.